Well, I can tell you this, Mike Cruz here wrapping up the scene after assessing and processing what happened here for several hours today. You can take a look behind me. Down on Franklin Avenue is where that young man's body was found lying in the street. That's where police believe he collapsed after being shot more than 5 times. The call came into District 4 around 2:15 this afternoon about shots fired. Officers tell me when they arrived on the scene, they found a man lying in the street, 5 to 10 shots fired at this man. They describe him as a white man in his upper 20s to lower 30s. Police believe he was near an apartment building here on Franklin. They say it looks as though he ran away from the building and then collapsed in the street. For a short time, because of those shots fired, a school close by was shut down temporarily as students and buses were getting ready to pick up the children. Again, that was just temporarily for safety measures. Right now, no weapon recovered at this time. They're still looking for the suspect and whoever fired those deadly shots.
This morning on this YouTube channel, one of our newer viewers left a comment saying, "Hey, any of you guys ever hear about routine activity theory?" So I wrote back saying, "Were you asking me too?" He goes, "Yeah, especially you, Colin." I said, "Man, I've written more about routine activity theory than any person on the planet." But I see not everybody has read it all. Well, this is a case of routine activity theory as well. Routine activity theory says a white person in a black neighborhood can routinely expect to be the victim of some pretty nasty violence. Most of the times when we do these stories about poster children for routine activity theory, RAT, most of the time it's some young, happy-go-lucky white kid moves into a black neighborhood, puts his arms out, full of love for all of God's creatures, and they learn pretty quickly that not all of God's creatures have love for them. I'm not sure if that's what we have here. I mean, the very fact that the picture we have of the decedent comes from the police department tells me there may have been something sketchy going on down there. Who knows? The black person is arrested for killing a white person. Maybe he was down there buying drugs. Done a lot of those stories. Young white people go into black neighborhoods to buy drugs. Do you remember this one?
Teenagers murdered execution style in a vacant Detroit field.
Now 2.5 years later, their killers are going to prison for life. Fox 2's Amy Lang with more from today's emotional sentencing.
These families have waited so long for justice. Finally, their opportunity to address the men who killed their sons. But what one of the defendants had to say to them left everyone shaking their heads.
Stripped of clothes, stripped of possessions, stripped of innocence, and then stripped of life.
Joshua Babish describes the brutal deaths of his brother Jordan Babish and his friend Jacob Kudla. The teens from Westland went missing in July of 2012. Their lifeless bodies discovered days later in a field on Detroit's east side.
Everything just aches, and it's just a totally senseless crime how you can march someone out in the middle of a field and execute them. I mean, we're not a third world country. You know, sometimes I wish it did happen in a third world country because it would be a lot different outcome of this whole thing.
Instead, these two men, Frederick Young and Philando Hunter, were sentenced on this day to life in prison without parole for robbing, torturing, murdering the two teens who had been in Detroit trying to buy drugs. Yet when Young had his chance to apologize to the families, he did nothing of the sort.
I'd like to say sorry to the families of Ayanna Jones, Michael Brown, Eric Gardner, and I want to apologize to them for not being able to get justice for their loved ones who was murdered in cold blood. And in respect for the peaceful protest, I want to say hands up, don't shoot, Black Lives Matter. That's it, Your Honor.
Now, this all happened in a part of Cincinnati called Bond Hill. It kind of sounds, at least to me, sounded like kind of an upscale neighborhood. You know, we do stories all over the country, and I hate to say, I have not been in every single one of these neighborhoods where we do stories from. So I looked up Bond Hill. Bond Hill is Cincinnati's probably most well-known black neighborhood. Not even gone to the gentrifying thing. I went from white to black, stayed that way, period. This is, of course, now as a center of crime and violence in Cincinnati, Bond Hill. That's what it's known for. But if you do a little research on it, whether it's Wikipedia or other places, the very first thing you learn about Bond Hill is that whatever happened in Bond Hill happened because of white flight and white racism. That white racism is responsible for all the crime and violence in Bond Hill, despite the fact that it's all perpetrated by black people, and in this case, upon a white person. You know, Jesse Lee Peterson talks about this better than anybody in the country, how white people are targets of black hostility, black anger, black resentment, black violence. And it's a topic a lot of white people really don't want to get their heads around. Maybe this guy that went into that black neighborhood, maybe he thought he was a tough guy. He could go in there, take care of his business, get the hell out. Maybe he was one of those little innocent angels that went in there with nothing but love for all of God's creatures, as I said before, but I really don't get the vibe that's what's happening here. Either way, this story is a reminder to all of us that there's a lot of people in danger they cannot even imagine they are in. Maybe it's a nurse, a white nurse visiting patients in a black neighborhood. Maybe it's an aunt and an uncle who live near or near a black neighborhood, and they feel like they've been there for 50 years and nobody's going to push them out. Gosh dang it. They can do whatever they want. Those are the kind of people that need to see these videos, that need to read Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. Every time I see a story like this, I say, you know, we have a lot of readers and viewers in Cincinnati. I know somehow we were close to this kid's life. On some level, we were close. Somebody that touched our books and videos touched that kid. I know it. Because there's just too many. We have too many people in Cincinnati. I mean, we have like 1 million people a month watching these videos now, or 1 million hits a month. Lots of stuff about Cincinnati and Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. So that's really our challenge. I mean, okay, so maybe this kid wasn't the perfect person or perfect poster child for saying, hey, be careful. You're a target. But lots of other people are out there that are still targets, that aren't being careful. That's who the people are we have to reach and touch and save, even if it means we're being a little rough with the people that were the person who was the last victim. So when you're in Cincinnati and you've got relatives or friends living in a black neighborhood or near a black neighborhood, you know what they have to do. But remind them anyway. Don't make the black kids angry.